This is general information and not advice. Please speak to a licensed finance professional about your circumstances. Stanford Financial is authorised under Australian Credit Licence Number 541480. Further information is available at stanfordfinancial.au.
Hello and welcome to Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, a podcast where we help you navigate the often complex world of buying, selling and renting real estate here in Ipswich and the surrounding areas. I'm Steve Athanates. I'm the owner of NG Real Estate here in Ipswich and at about 5 other locations. I'm joined today by Steve Beach from Stanford Financial. Hello, Stephen. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you.
Long time no see. It's been a while.
It's been a few weeks or
It's
a few
been a
months
while.
now.
Yeah. I've been at different stages. I've been busy studying real estate in some other locations, not necessarily in Australia.
Yes.
So I apologise if I missed that last podcast. Now, we're here today to talk about something very, very important and very dear to lots of people out there, especially anyone who's got a mortgage.
100%.
And we are going to talk about a Reserve Bank decision on interest rates, which has occurred today.
An hour ago. Yep.
1 hour ago, mate. What happened to interest rates?
So I'm going to be positive and say, woohoo, we were both correct. We predicted rate cuts. So they cut the official cash rate from 3.85 down to 3.6.
So 0.25%. Everyone at home, for a $500,000 mortgage, that saves you...
It's about $70 a month.
Yay!
So every dollar counts, and that's 3 rate cuts that we've had so far this year. So if we can get a couple more, would even be better. But we're talking almost $250 a month off the average mortgage, which I think is like $600,000 now.
Boom. Well, that's excellent. And for everyone at home, congratulations. It's great that you've got a mortgage, and it's great now that you've got some extra money in your back pocket that you can spend on something else apart from your mortgage payment. Now, obviously, to clarify, Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast said what was going to happen today. I wasn't here, but my de facto, Matthew, said I would say a rate cut, which is what I would have said. We were right. Stephen, you said?
Rate cut.
Rate cut. So here on Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, we were right yet again. Boom. Everything's winning here. So at the end of the day, if you need to know what's going to happen with interest rates, what's going to happen with the market, you need to tune into Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast to get the down low on what's going to happen in your immediate future. Now, mate, the Reserve Bank met. It was an hour ago. They made the decision. What came out of the meeting apart from the fact that they, thank God, decided to reduce by 0.25%?
I guess the reason why they held last month was they were waiting on the quarterly data. So they always like to, rule based on quarterly data, not so much the month, because month to month can be a bit volatile, like sales, like anything. You can have a good month and you can have a bad month, but over a quarter it kind of averages out. So we saw the quarterly inflation go from, 2.9 down to 2.7. And then after some subsidies or government subsidies, we went from 2.4 down to 2.1. So we're perfectly in, their 2 to 3% band of what they're wanting to. We also saw unemployment go from 4.2 to 4.3. 4.5 has been sort of the magic line in the sand where they want to be. They've actually forecast it lower to be at 4.3% because they're predicting 4.3% pretty much all the way till the end of 2026 is going to be the unemployment rate. So we're actually starting to see that stability, which is what the RBA has been talking about. Okay,
that's perfect. So economically, all the indicators supported the cut.
Yep.
So everyone thought last time they met that there should have been a cut. There was going to be a cut. It was 95% guaranteed. It was going to be a cut. We got nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So this time, all the stars and the moon aligned, and we got a magical cut.
And that was because they didn't have that quarterly data. Also, the unemployment data came out the day after the RBA announcement.
Right.
So they didn't have all the data ready to go for the May announcement, which we even know was in June, and then
All right. So for everyone at home, when does the Reserve Bank meet again next?
So it's the 29th and the 30th of September. So ultimately they do the Monday, Tuesday, 2-day thing. So what's that? We're about 6 weeks away from today. Should be the next RBA announcement.
So the decision will come out on the 30th?
On the 30th.
All right. So for everyone out there, 30th September, stay tuned. Now, in that meeting, there was some further commentary about what the Reserve Bank thought was going to happen into the future. Why don't you tell everyone at home about what they're saying could happen as we move through to 2026?
I guess a lot of the information that comes out of the RBA meeting and the actual minutes that they released is a lot about, I guess, what has happened and then their predictions on what's going to happen in the future. So they actually reduced some of their forecasts. So they've actually brought unemployment down, they've brought productivity down. So they're essentially saying that supply and demand should equally just come down a little bit from a productivity point of view. Even in the, I guess, to the question time that I was listening to on the drive here, was talking a little bit about in their forecast, they're actually predicting that the RBA cash rate should go from 3.6 essentially down to 3.1 by, I guess, the 30th of June next year as well, so the end of financial year.
So 3.1, if we got 2.25% cuts, so between now and the 30th of June, we're expecting two more cuts.
That's forecast in the RBA announcements, and that's not allowing for any uncertainty. So, Trump tariffs still not quite sorted in that sort of factor. I think China's just been given another 90 days before they're going to rule in exactly what sort of tariffs. So there's a lot of uncertainty outside of Australia's control that influences what happens here. So again, I guess they allow for that shock and awe. So if something drastically happens overseas or even here domestically, the RBA can move quite quickly. So she did even announce in that question time, she said 2 to 3 rate cuts, even though we're only talking about 2 rate cuts as part of their actual forecast.
Okay, all right. So we know the next board meeting is, and their decision will come out on the 30th of September. I guess this leads us to the natural progression. It's prediction time yet again. Now, there's a lot of economic factors, and I think it's worthwhile, I guess, pointing out to everyone at home is that Australia is a lucky country compared to a lot of other places out there. And whilst I understand, and we totally understand that a lot of people are feeling a lot of cost of living pressures, and a lot of them, they're not your fault, they're not my fault, but this is just what's happening. So people are feeling that pressure of what's happening, but compared to a lot of other countries in the world, we're actually in a really strong position overall. So I guess without any further ado, 6 weeks away, hard to say what drastic changes there could be between today and 6 weeks. What do you think is going to happen with interest rates?
I'm personally, I'm going to predict that they'll stay on hold purely for the fact that they'll want to see what sort of impact. So we've literally gone rate cut, hold, rate cut, hold, rate cut, hold. So I think the logical choice is for them to hold again to see what sort of impact they have with this rate cut. Big thing that they're talking about in question time again is assets in Australia, which what we're meaning by that is shares in property. So every time RBA cuts rates, house prices go up because people can afford more money. There's more confidence in borrowing power. Again, like when's the perfect time to buy a house? As I always say, is when you can afford one. Now is always a good time. You'd say good time to sell, good time to buy.
My favourite answer. When's it a good time to buy real estate? Now, today, immediately. Give us a call.
So, a big thing that they're talking about is a few people asked me some questions about the New Zealand house crashing, prices crashing as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Ultimately, we've got such high demand on property over here. Our economy is a lot stronger. So, there's no forecast at all for Australian property prices to drop.
It's interesting. Before I tell you what I think about my prediction, it's interesting. We should probably talk about this New Zealand situation. It depends who you listen to. They're talking about New Zealand's house market has crashed. That's what some people say. Some people say there's been a strong correction. Now, we'll have to wait and see. And again, I think it may still take another 3 months to really see the true picture of what's happening in that marketplace. What do you think? Has it crashed or has there been a strong correction?
Well, I think, I've been asked when's there going to be a market correction in Australia for the last probably 2 years. Like, surely it can't keep growing at 1% per month or 10% per annum. Whilst rates were up here and we knew rates were always going to come back to where they were pre-COVID levels, which we're almost at the point where we're seeing fixed rates start with a 4 now. Variable rates, going to be sub 5.5%. Like we're not.
What was the lowest rates we saw? I can't remember. I can't remember what happened yesterday.
1.59, I think, was the lowest fixed rate I saw at the I guess, pinnacle of COVID.
Wow. Does anyone out there remember that? Holy.
I fixed at 1.89. I thought I was doing right, but
cheeky bugger.
there was some.
Where was my phone call on that one?
There was some sharp rates going along. We're even seeing just some people coming off 2% fixed rates now, calling us up going, hey, I fixed for 5 years during COVID, or hey, I fixed for 4 years during COVID. My fixed rate's expiring.
Smart people.
So, I was stupid enough to believe in Phil Lowe when he said, hey, the RBA isn't going to increase rates for 2 years. So I'm like, cool, let's lock in 2 years. And then all of a sudden, he got voted out because he went, don't make an announcement of nothing's going to change for 2 years if something's going to change next week. So
Yeah. All right, well, look, bit of an insight into New Zealand. Let's stay tuned, and we'll talk about that obviously in future episodes of Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, the best place to see anything to do with real estate. Now, my prediction, everyone knows I'm the eternal optimist, okay? I think they're going to be on hold too. Do you know what I mean? I think the Reserve Bank will wait to see what the impact is. They will look at indicators in terms of what happens with house prices and stuff like that. But I think they will err on the side of caution and they will wait and see what impact it has. So after September, generally it's 5 weeks, every 5 weeks after that.
Yep,
so we maybe will see something happen maybe in October.
So what's that be? In November?
October,
meeting?
early November maybe.
Yep. So probably no. A lot of the banks are predicting essentially a November, a true November rate cut, which will be an announcement in December, because they kind of fall outside in months because they're doing it every 5 to 6 weeks. So most of the banks have predicted a December rate cut.
Not a November rate cut.
Well, it's technically the November rate cut.
Yeah, I suppose it is, yeah. Well, okay, you've heard it here. Steve Beach, Steve Athanates, we're both saying rates are on hold for the next announcement. So guess what that means? You got to stay tuned to see what happens. So where you'll hear it first is here on Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast. Now, if you like the content, if you've got any comments, we would love to hear from you. If you want to talk to us, click the link below. We'd love your feedback. So, Steve Beach from Stanford Financial, unbelievable analysis as always. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with everyone at home. Greatly appreciated. For everyone out there, I'm Steve Athanates. I'm the owner of NG Real Estate here in Ipswich and other areas as well. If you'd like to hear more of what's happening in all things real estate, tune into Ipswich's Real Estate Podcast, and we'll see you real soon.